World War II has always been historic and some of the most studied part of the world. Yeah.
That's
So
why they're called
the people of the book. Exactly. Exactly. And we as human beings, books to me means that we record things, and even though through translation some of the true essence and the true meaning is lost sometimes, common sense and logic and what is proven to work time and time again, which we call scientific. But being scientific and being spiritual, there is a fine line there that if we don't have people who are being scientific and also preservative, the true discovery is lost. Now, I noticed this, I think last year was the first year that I really noticed this, what looks to me like a sweat tent.
No,
It's not a sweat tent.
it's called a sukkah.
A sukkah?
Sukkah.
Sukkah.
And it's at this time of year, this is the Jewish holiday of
Yeah,
Sukkot.
Hanukkah.
No.
No?
Sukkot, be careful.
No, I got it.
Hanukkah is in the winter.
Yes.
This is when the Jewish people were traveling through the desert.
Yes.
They had to sit, they didn't have houses.
And this is
like that.
after they were coming out of Egypt.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then they built these. I mean, this is a beautiful one.
Yes.
They built very modest.
Yeah, and this one is built to this specification last year and this year that I noticed it. And I think it's before then. Before
Yeah, they've had it, but they used to have it at the other end of the park.
Yeah, but that's not a big deal because come to think of it, that beautiful fountain that you see on the other side of the park used to be over this side where Mr. Bryant is now.
Oh, really?
Yes, the fountain used to be. If you look at the historic pictures, the fountain used to be on that side. So we utilize, yes, if you study it. This space has gone through many things. It's been through a reservoir, it's been like a potter's field, and it's been many things.
I should read about
So
it.
them moving this what you say, this celebrate sukkah.
This is a sukkah.
Yeah.
And it celebrates the holiday. It's called Sukkot. It's
Sukkot,
the same,
yeah.
It's the same sukkah and Sukkot, the same root.
In our languages, they say that English is related anciently to the Sanskrit. And whether or not it's true, our language at one time was all together. It seemed like I'm going off of this, but I'm not. Let me tell a slight story that I've encountered. There's a story about the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
In my understanding, there are people who are looking for an actual structure that may have been built.
Oh.
Somehow, in my mind, it's been changed to the Tower of Babylon. See, we were talking about language. When a baby is born, we say that they babble before they talk.
That's
correct?
Yeah.
So I think that the tower that we're looking for is the Tower of Babylon, because we started hiding stuff from each other, and so we started speaking different languages. So to one cult, not cult, but it could be a cult, but cult came to me. Yeah, cult. Yeah, a group of people. Not meaning, not nefarious intention.
Right.
Yeah. So it could be cult in its purest sense. Like the swastika in India meant peace.
Yeah, I mean.
And they changed it around to mean evil.
Right.
Okay? So my assessment of that Tower of Babel, I turned it into Babylon, because now we are speaking different language because we wanted to hide stuff from each other. You made the statement that the Jewish community is a community of study. So we're looking for an actual structure to represent the Tower of Babel. But I say Babylon because we speak different languages.
Well, that's an interesting
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. So we apply Babylon to children. So we have become children in our communication. You see where I'm going with that?
I get it.
We're heading for the Tower of Babel is supposed to be heading for the stars, way up into the stars. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, but it didn't have.
It didn't happen.
No, but the background, the reason for it was not a good one. I mean, according to the Jewish, every religion has its own.
No. And it even goes so far into, from what I see in the traditions of the most in-depth part of Jewish religion and Jewish culture that I've looked at is the what is it called? It's slipping me.
Is it a book?
No, it's not. It's a practice of medicines and stuff like Kabbalah.
Oh.
The Kabbalic
Yeah, well, that's
aspect.
very spiritual, very deep.
But spirituality. If you ask anyone, and I don't want this to last too long, I just wanted to know the name of it and what it stands for. But if you look at spirituality, the word spirituality, whenever we choose, whether we choose to be Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, we're looking for the ability to be self-sufficient.
Right.
Self-sufficiency comes through spirituality. It's not religious.
No, spirituality doesn't mean religion.
No, it doesn't mean, because when you attain the highest level of spirituality, it transcends religion. You can go.
Well, I haven't reached that point yet, I have to tell you.
I don't think so, because you're sitting here so so calm and collective, and that's what spirituality is. Your ability to, no matter what space you're in, to call your calmness to you.
What is your background?
What's my background?
Smart.
No, I don't think I'm that smart. I've had the pleasure of knowing both my grandparents, my grandfather and my grandmother, who were born in the latter part of the 1800s. You see what I mean? So that was a very transitional part for humanity, because we hadn't had World War I yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? We hadn't had the ability to transmit what was going on the battlefield.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the stories wasn't. Remember, we started talking about the meaning of the Bible. Because if you look at the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran.
Well, the Bible and the Torah are the same thing.
Thank you.
They're the
Thank
same
you.
word. It's just
Thank you.
two words.
And then there's a guy named Abraham that steps in.
Right.
That some people say there were many people called Abraham at the time. But it's so ironic that all three religions that fight against each other and have some controversy going on claim Abraham as a patriarch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all have the Christianity. I mean, I have Christian friends.
The Jews.
They believe in the same Torah that we do, except they added on things.
They subtracted things,
yes.
A lot of things, because, and I blame one guy that I love, even though he caused so much strife. And we are watering this down to what this really means right now by going where I'm about to go. And it's Henry VIII, when he wanted to marry Anne Boleyn.
And with the whole thing with the church and everything.
Yes,
yeah.
and separation of the church.
Right.
Because remember, Eastern and Western Orthodox Church came about because of the loss of Byzantium.
You know, that, my
Constantinople. That is Istanbul.
The names and the things, but I don't know the whole history. Really.
The history of it is that when, to my knowledge, is that when Christianity set out of where Israel stand now, where Jerusalem is, and crossed into Europe, it came across that Asia Minor area, which is Istanbul today, controlled by Turkey, the Ottomans. Right. So the war that we're fighting now between Muslims and Christians, between East and West, started in the loss of that city. Now, do I support one person? In human history, water creates a very telling void. In every religion, we use water for purification. For purification. Remember the Jordan River? I don't want to. And I said we were watering this down, what this is. So you go inside and there are study material that's in this?
Yeah, there are some, but this is mostly for this holiday,
Yeah.
your meals are supposed to be in the sukkah.
So you have a meal. You have a meal between the leaders of the community and such.
Regular people.
Regular people just go in, and at like the height of this celebration, are there leaders of the community that are there to greet people, to usher in and to usher out the celebration?
Yeah, the rabbi is here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rabbi and different.
And it's a shame that we ask questions and we really can't go in depthly as to how it goes because of things that's going on in our vicinity now, in our community. But that's what I see. If you build something like this and people are visiting at certain time, randomly you would meet a leader of a community, because one of my most pressing issue is the children of every community, especially the priestly order, which is the Jewish community. It cannot be denied that when it comes to study of book and deciphering the inspiration of Dead Sea Scrolls and such, there is no other community that is in charge of it, and there you can't give it up, because the land that you are at odds with others over is where these writings come from. So you to be truly, and God didn't give you a victory over Egypt in said time because you were weak in your faith. God didn't give you the ability to make it across the desert where these structures were built in celebration and in worship and in meditation. God didn't give you that to come now and allow the kids to come back with all type of watered down beliefs. But we don't have enough time to do it. That's what we know right now. We don't have enough time. But you're sitting here, beautiful. And it so happens that my two children, they were born out of wedlock, but they were born to a Jewish mother. So they're also Jewish, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. So our connection as human beings on this planet was once before we were all babbling different languages. Remember, the Jews started speaking Yiddish, I believe, in Europe after they tried to protect themselves when they were being led to concentration camp, and even being thrown out of Spain, from Spain to England to the lowlands, and
out of everywhere.
And most people would say, but the truth is written in the book, and God gifts are given to those who are worthy of it. So if some people say many things, but when it comes down to it, I didn't see any more Jews came to America of lately. And when I say lately, in the last 25 years, the Jews are here. But we have become a wicked and neglectful society.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
very neglectful.
Walk in the street, things that you see. And
we don't see it. So we need more of this, and we need more of the children going into these places and understanding fully what it means, the sacrifice that were made out of our religion that is supposed to ultimately lead to spirituality. Spirituality, a love of ourself. True love of self means that you are able to give true love to humanity. So
you have to love yourself first.
You have to. It's not a selfish love.
No.
So if you don't love yourself selfishly, when you come out and give your love, you cannot give it selfishly, because the minute you give it, you know it, and you know that you're on your way to death. Death of spirit. How we say in each religion, the body may die, but the spirit moves on. So, what's your name again, ma'am?
Marsha.
Marsha? Yes. Wow. My Auntie Jean, her daughter is Marsha.
Really?
Yes, and her other daughter is Marisha, and then she has Megan. But Marsha Marsha.
That sounds familiar.
No, it doesn't just sound familiar. It's a beautiful soul. Have a nice day.
Take care.
You too, man.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So just a little information on what's going on here. And maybe I didn't ask the right question, and maybe there is just a place to gather, you know? But I'm sure coming across the desert and that's what inspired that place. There's a little bit more to it, you know? So we are calling on those community that, whether it's the Muslim community or the Jewish community, because boy, I am a Christian, but Christianity has become such that much is allowed, that much is destructive within. And then maybe it's just because I am a Christian, I am every day paying attention to it. Maybe I don't go to mass or go to service on the days, but believe me, my church, which is my body, I am working on it, and it has never been stronger. So that's a little talk there. Yes. What is this?
So Comic-Con is a big thing at the Javits Center.
Yes.
This is the professional librarians and teachers and people in the industry.
So you're going to be facilitators of some sort?
No, we're all listening to speakers who are from the industry about how to use comics in the classroom or in the library.
Comic books or
graphic novels and comics. The big fan thing is happening at Javits Center.
At the Javits Center, yes.
And
it's funny that you use the word comic is in there, because within New York City right now in Manhattan, yesterday I recorded a little bit of DC comic, and then in Times Square they're having the Justice League, which are two separate aspects of comic books. And when I was growing up, I got into a discussion this morning about
I have to listen to this. I'm a professional, and I appreciate your story.
Okay.
But I can't do the interview or whatever you're doing.
Okay, so it's about comic with comic. Thank you. So they're having this at the Stephen Schwarzman building, which is the main library right now, because in actuality, that building there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 floors there, is the main library of the New York Public Library system, NewYorkPublicLibrary.org. That's the main, really, but it's under renovation now. So this is more of the main library. And the lady I was speaking about, the Jewish happenings right now, is in that area on the other side of that building. So it's on the same compound as where these people are attending. What little information I just attained from that gentleman before he had to go in because he couldn't do an interview. But those of you who see my little talk with that lady, and it was just a spur of the moment thing that's being stretched out right now. But you see, like I said, there are comic books that's going on, and in human society we always use comic. So hopefully it's a coordinated effort, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a spiritual inspiration and nothing is coordinated, and it's not truly coordinated by man, but by man's inner and intricate spirit. So I try to gather as much of what's going on right now. And today is October 5th, 2017. And I am the gatherer as we walk east on 42nd Street on my way to just taking a quick look at one of my other projects here, One Vanderbilt. So if you are listening to this video or watching this video, just Google One Vanderbilt and you can see at this time the second highest, what will be the second highest building in New York City when it's completed in about 2019, 2020. One Vanderbilt. So this building will be the only second to the Freedom Tower. As we look at the Chrysler Building there, completed in 1930, a year before the Empire State Building, and held the record for being the tallest building in the world for that year until the completion of the Empire State Building the following year, 1931. So this is One Vanderbilt, between Madison and Vanderbilt Avenue, in full swing of its construction. we go from a meeting house to what will become one of the most technologically advanced building in the world in our society. Oh, from wood to steel, we would say, as you have a very large column. And see, we're still using wood to this day. As that young man, is stacking wood. And those men over there are bringing in a very, like I said, a long column. Let's see if we can get another angle on that and then wrap this up as a symbol of our evolution in utilizing human ingenuity and applying it to good works instead of selfish ones. This is certainly a building that represents human ingenuity being put to good use. When you can utilize a building that covers a square block in use to replace utilizing space that used to cover over 20 blocks. Yeah, this building here, Grand Central, was built we could build many pyramids over with the technology that's in those cranes. The Tower of Babylon, I like to think. When we started speaking different language, in some people, it started touching their very soul. Or what they call the soul. I don't believe it touched their soul. Man started living by their hearts instead of their soul. So now, the original entry into ascertainment of knowledge was stopping at the religious corners and not amounting to spiritual awareness. As we see a Tesla move into traffic there, I'll leave that part of it out. That's some technicality. I like to see the priestly order take up in full force and stop allowing the children to return home with nonsense being accepted and saying, we will change that or we will rectify that later on. Why put off for tomorrow what we have identified as the problem? And the problem is neglect of the next generation.